The truth behind Won's statement. Grace could never have auditioned for Khun Sam, and the hidden plan to split FayeYoko. In the third section of her November 5th statement, Won addressed Grace's involvement, clarifying that Grace had auditioned for the role of Khun Sam in blank the series but was not selected. Afterward, the company invited her to audition for several other projects, just like other applicants, and also extended invitations for her to attend public events such as the last EP celebration and Faye's birthday party, similar to other guest artists. Won emphasized that Grace did not receive any special treatment, and the rumors about a personal or romantic relationship between her and Grace were completely false. However, looking back at the overall context of that period, the story still raises several doubts. When NineStar was first established, Won served as CEO while Pies was CEO, meaning both held full control over production decisions for blank the series, including the casting process for key roles such as Anyuing, Khun Dr. Won and Khun Sam as well as supporting characters. According to available information, Faye was the last actress invited to audition for the lead role of Khun, after many candidates failed to meet expectations. Faye also recommended several supporting actors, including those who played Anyuing's father and grandmother, indicating she had considerable influence during the casting stage. Given Won's authority and her notable fondness for Grace, it is entirely plausible that Grace was proposed for the role of Khun Sam. But the question remains. If Won truly wanted to help Grace, why wasn't she chosen? When power collides, Faye rejected Grace and Won refused to accept it. A more reasonable theory is that Grace never auditioned for Khun Sam. Instead, she auditioned for the lead role of Anyuing, which was later given to Yoko. Since Faye was directly involved in choosing her co-star, it's possible that she rejected Grace for lacking acting depth or suitability for the main role. After several rounds of auditions, Yoko, the final candidate on the last day of casting, was selected by Faye. And that decision perhaps changed the course of both their destinies forever. Why Grace could not have auditioned for the role of Khun Sam as Won claimed. The role of Khun Sam was entirely unsuitable for Grace. Let's revisit NineStar's official casting announcement posted on August 29, 2023, which outlined requirements for the three main female characters: Khun Sam, Khun and Anyuing. Character: Khun Sam. Age 20-25. Height: 160 centimeters or above. Character: beautiful, not very sociable, proud of her dignity. Personality: beautiful, mature CEO look. Special skill: acting. From these criteria, NineStar clearly described Khun Sam as a mature, sophisticated and aristocratic woman, someone exuding the grace, confidence and power of a high society figure. The character is portrayed as cold, composed and emotionally complex, requiring refined acting skills to convey subtle emotions. So how could Grace possibly qualify for this role? First, Grace had never been a professional actress. She was a complete newbie with no proven acting experience. That alone disqualified her from meeting the most fundamental requirement for the role of Khun Sam. Second, Grace's appearance was youthful, innocent and sweet, more like a teenage girl than a composed suit. Anyone who has watched NineStar's early videos could easily see her shyness and lack of worldly confidence. With her soft demeanor and gentle image, it would have been nearly impossible for her to embody a cold, powerful and authoritative executive like Khun Sam. Even in terms of visual tone, Grace did not fit the elegant and high-class aesthetic the role demanded. Therefore, it's highly likely that Grace either failed to meet the acting standards or lacked on-screen chemistry with Faye or the other candidates during the audition. Blank the series was known for its emotional depth and required natural, nuanced performances, especially in the dynamic scenes between Anyuing, Khun and Khun Sam. If Grace's delivery was stiff, emotionless, or failed to create a genuine emotional connection, Faye, who had significant influence in the casting process, would have opposed her selection. Thus, even though Won may have favored and wanted to promote Grace, Faye and Pies still had veto power if the acting test didn't meet the required standard. Moreover, Khun Sam embodied a refined, mature and slightly aloof aura, while Grace's image at the time was youthful, energetic and more idol-like, lacking the depth and gravitas that the role demanded. It's very possible that Pies or the main director was the one who eliminated Grace for being visually and tonally incompatible with the film's atmosphere. All these factors make it clear that Grace could not have auditioned for the role of Khun Sam, contrary to what Won claimed. A more suitable role: Anyuing. According to the same casting notice. Character: Anyuing. Age 18-25. Height, 160 centimeters or above. Character, cute and cheerful, beautiful smile, has a complex. Personality, bright, cheerful, charming smile. Special skills, acting and singing. With this description, Anyuang was clearly a far better fit for Grace in both age and character type. Her youthful, innocent and sweet image perfectly matched the role. Moreover, since Anyuang was the main female lead, any contestant would naturally prefer to audition for this part rather than a supporting role like Khun Sam. Earlier on TikTok, one account revealed that Grace had auditioned for the role of Anyuang but wasn't selected, while Yoko was the final candidate on the last day of casting, and it was Faye who personally chose her. Interestingly, that post was liked by Yoko and fans managed to capture the moment. Whether it was intentional or accidental remains unknown, but that small action became a crucial clue supporting the theory that Grace actually auditioned for Anyuang, not Khun Sam. Every piece of evidence, from the casting descriptions, the role's personality, to the reactions of those involved, points to the same conclusion. Grace never auditioned for Khun Sam. She had in fact auditioned for Anyuang, the main role opposite Khun Nuing, a pairing later brought to life beautifully by Faye and Yoko. Won and her special favor toward Grace. Won was reportedly very eager for Grace to take on the role of Anyuang because she had a particular fondness for her. When Faye determined that Grace wasn't suitable and removed her from the shortlist, Won was disappointed and began showing Grace clear favoritism. As a result, Won personally invited Grace to appear as a special guest at several of NineStar's major events, including the last EP celebration and Faye's birthday party. This raised eyebrows as Grace wasn't a celebrity, had no connection to the main cast, and offered no promotional or publicity value to those events. Therefore, the only logical reason for her repeated appearances was that CEO Won had a personal bias and wanted to give Grace opportunities for media exposure, helping her appear alongside established artists and gradually gain public attention. From Blank the series to the comeback plan. When newbie Grace became the catalyst behind the FayeYoko split. The past already shows that Grace had caught Won's attention since the Blank the series era. Later, when NineStar began expanding with 3 new projects, the company launched a new round of auditions for newbies, and that became the perfect opportunity for Grace to return. Her selection made perfect sense under the label of a newbie. However, Grace's reappearance also became the indirect cause of the FayeYoko breakup. Why? Because Grace wasn't yet famous enough to stand on her own, she needed a platform and a powerful figure to lift her up. At that time, NineStar had only 2 true aces, Faye and Yoko. The 3 new projects and the Push Grace strategy. One began crafting a plan for 3 new GL projects. 1 Fake Grace. 2 Yoko Grace. 3 FayeYoko. To make this strategy possible, One reportedly asked Faye and Yoko to attend sessions with a psychologist to discuss the idea of separating their couple image and testing their ability to work independently. At the same time, NineStar wanted both to sign new contracts, possibly containing clauses that required them to follow the company's direction and not refuse assigned projects. However, Faye refused to sign the new contract, which led to the theory that One decided to remove her from NineStar, citing incompatibility with the company's plan to promote Grace. Yoko Grace. The plan gains momentum. In contrast, Yoko likely signed the new contract, binding her to follow the company's orders. This theory is well supported. Soon after, CO1 began heavily promoting Yoko and Grace together, instead of focusing on all 3 newbies equally. After the selection process, only 3 newbies remained under NineStar, Grace, Idea and Peam, but Grace was the only one who received exceptional treatment. She became the only newbie to host a solo TikTok livestream with Yoko, clearly showing the company's intention to build Grace as Yoko's new partner, aligning perfectly with One's master plan. L Fashion Week 2025, the Polish Grace strategy. The campaign to promote Grace didn't stop there. On November 14th, Yoko is set to attend The Known Unknown, the first fashion show under L Fashion Week 2025. In the official announcement, Studio Unknown confirmed that Yoko would appear as a special guest of the event, yet Grace's name was never mentioned. This immediately raised questions. If both Yoko and Grace were officially artists under NineStar, then logically Studio Unknown should have listed both. Conversely, if the name mentioned had been Faye, it's almost certain that FayeYoko would have been introduced together as special guests, given their overwhelming influence in both the fashion and entertainment industries. So the question is, where did Grace come from and in what capacity is she appearing? In reality, Grace is still just a newbie, not yet officially debuted or recognized as a NineStar artist. For someone with no public profile, securing a spot at a prestigious fashion show like LA Fashion Week, which gathers top celebrities such as Lukmhee, Sonia and Bonnie, would be nearly impossible if she were attending as an official guest. However, Studio Unknown previously announced that customers who purchased products worth 4,500 THB would receive one ticket to the show. Therefore, it's highly likely that NineStar purchased a ticket for Grace so she could appear alongside Yoko, allowing both of them to be seen side by side, creating the illusion that they were special guests of the event. Meanwhile, the other two newbies, Idea and Peam, were completely absent from the show, a detail that further highlights the imbalance. As unknown newbies, they didn't qualify to be invited. But Grace attended because of special favoritism, or possibly a company-arranged setup. All of this clearly shows that Grace's appearance with Yoko at LA Fashion Week 2025 was no coincidence. It was a calculated move, a deliberate stepping stone to signal that Grace is very likely to take one of the lead roles in the 3 upcoming NineStar projects soon to be announced.